I don't know if I was seeing some time travelers. I don't know. They were all guys, interestingly enough, at the time that I was seeing, and this was in a shopping mall, and I was not seeing what I was supposed to be seeing in the shopping mall. I was seeing something totally different. It was like a vision of this is the way, these people do it, or whatever. I don't know what it was about, to tell you the truth. I was just, all I can say is I saw, this was in 1980, and do you remember when, was it the lightning bolt logo was popular? What was that? I want to say something with surfing or lightning bolt. It was like on shirts, guys' shirts.
Right. Yeah. Well, the lightning bolt is a symbol for the superhero Flash, the Flash.
I don't know if that was whatever it was in the 80s. It was real popular on shirts, on guys' shirts.
Okay.
You'd see them at the mall. Okay, so when I was at the mall and looking at little shops and stuff, just window shopping, the guys' clothes, whatever that I was coming upon in the windows, all of a sudden they had these really weird starburst insignias on them.
Huh.
Yeah, like the sun, or like, I don't know, Sirius or whatever it was. It was a big star. I was just seeing that, it was like a vision of some sort, or I don't know if I was hallucinating or what it was,
Right.
And then I was seeing guys looking like surfer type guys, blonde hair, blue eyed, and they all looked alike, kind of like they were brothers type. They were wearing these shirts in the store, selling, or not really selling. They were like some were behind the register, some were wherever. I don't know. I didn't see customers. I just saw the guys, and it was like a vision, but it was like a message, and there were no words, and it was like something was telling me like there was no money being exchanged. It was all, and I don't know if it was gold, but I didn't see any physical gold.
Right.
And it was something to do with the symbol. It was like a light source. It was like, where we are, we don't need money, or something like that. It was just really strange. And it was like, and I walked out of the mall, and I even felt this amazing light, like a light. And even inside the mall at the time, it was like everything was filled with light. And it was almost telling me, like, it felt like something was telling me, like, oh, you're really, really wealthy. You don't need money. It was really a weird message. I can't explain it.
Yeah.
But I thought I would share it for what it's worth. It's just, I thought, well, maybe this is a future message. I don't know.
Maybe it's a potential future. Maybe it's part of the timeline. Hey, I have a quick question for you. Then somebody else is on the line. I want to talk to them. But do any of your girls read the books, The Hunger Games?
Somebody mentioned that to me, not them, but I think it was the girl who does my hair reads them, and I had never heard of them before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I'm going to be doing a post on the Hunger Games pretty soon. Frank, Winter Dragon Frank, brought them to my attention, and utterly fascinating. These are a series of books for young teens, right?
Okay.
And
I didn't know. I thought they were for adults also.
Well, they could be theoretically, but the main characters are all teenagers.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it's set in a post-apocalyptic America where there are these different zones.
Oh.
And the zones have to compete against each other with young people that are trained to face each other in what's called the Hunger Games, and they're fights to the death.
Yeah.
And everybody has to watch. You have to watch these games. And I thought about, and I'm gonna explore this more, but I thought about how each generation, sort of like with Pluto and Scorpio, has its own like generational literary meme. So for Pluto and Scorpio, it would be Harry Potter, right?
Yes.
That's what they were raised on. It's occultic. It's kind of dark. It's magical. Lots of power. So that's their sort of generational meme. Then it seems to me like the generational meme for this Pluto and Sag group are the Hunger Games, which are athletic, ideological, survival-based. So I'm going to look into that more. I just thought maybe with your daughters you might have had kind of an insight into that.
Well, yeah, the oldest, who's 19, she's Pluto Scorpio, I guess, at the very end of it. And then the next one in like 16-year-old is the very beginning of Pluto-Sag.
Uh-huh.
And then, of course, the last two are Pluto-Sag also. But, yeah, well, it sure fits my 16-year-old who's very athletic. I could see her liking that and relating to that. And
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, listen, Teresa, it's been lovely to hear your voice and catch up with you. And thank you for putting your Aries moon out there and calling in.
Okay, thanks for taking my call.
Okay.
Take care.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, so let's, I've got construction going on out in front of my house. I don't know if you can hear that or not. They're doing the studio. They're taking up the street. This is on the 509 area code. They've been waiting on hold for about 12 minutes. Let's see what they want to talk about. Hey, you're on the air with Robert. Hello.
Hi, Robert. It's Judy Derns. How are you?
Hey, Judy. How's it going?
Oh, real good, real good. I was listening to the interview, a very good interview, by the way.
Thanks.
And it brought to mind a question. You said that you had that you keep your notes to the news and on the media and all of that kind of thing, just to kind of see what's out there and what's going on.
Yeah.
And I was wondering what your reaction was, and if you had noticed any major shifts in consciousness that came about around the 11/11 date. Because I have, and I wondered if maybe you've noticed the same things that I had.
Well, yes, I have as well. And, for me, it's always, I start, it's weird. I mean, sometimes I start on the collective and work in, and sometimes I start on the inside and work out to the collective. I know for me personally that I felt a great sense of expansion on 11/11/11. Like, I felt like, you know what? This is great. I love my life. The planet's cool. Everybody else is really amenable. There is just a underlying sense of confidence, enthusiasm, and calm that I felt that day. And, since that, from a global perspective, I've been finding, Judy, that people's lives and their I guess their stuff, quote unquote, right? We have our stuff, right? I feel like people's stuff is getting diminished more, and more authenticity and more congruence are being demonstrated by people on a daily basis now. And my feeling about that is, and maybe it's a pre-11/11, post-11/11, but I've been feeling like for quite a while that we had been on this accelerated trip of really dealing with our baggage, dealing with our dysfunction, dealing with our thought forms, dealing with our misconceptions, dealing with what we do to keep getting in our own way. And a lot of that stuff was happening very quickly for many, many people. And I feel like, and this is my my perception, and I'll let you share yours. I feel like post 11/11/11 that process has really shifted, and we're not dealing necessarily with garbage. Now we're dealing with who we can be, how we can manifest ourselves more fully. That's the shift in consciousness that I'm experiencing. People are coming more online now.
Exactly. That's the up point. The thing that I noticed was a definite line that has been drawn between, for a better word, the reptilian forces. It's almost like black and white between, like what you were talking about before, the uplifting of the evolution of consciousness, and us letting go of the baggage and coming to know who and what we really are. And it's almost as if these reptilian forces are fighting against it and losing the battle. So,
well, I would, I would agree, because I think that again, from a personal perspective, I know that, post 11/11/11, like the writing on my website has really taken off, right? I'm like tapping into places now that are really interesting from an energetic perspective. So if I'm like responding to that and resonating with that in a kind of an amplified mode, and for me it feels, for lack of a better term, light or lighter, then I can only imagine what somebody who would be holding the opposite charge would be feeling now, because maybe they're getting really stressed out and having to deal with sort of the maybe the hyperphysics of this in ways that they're just not prepared to do.
Exactly. Wow, that's cool. I'm glad to hear that someone else has kind of perceived this in the way that I have. That confirmation makes you feel a little better.
Well, and look, I really like George, right? I really do, and I like the information, and I agree with a lot of it too. I had this event happen to me one time when I was in my 30s. It was my late 30s, and I had this big van. It was this 1-ton van, and I traveled all around the country with this van. And then when I came back to California, I actually lived out of it for a while. And I was driving it. I just helped a friend move, and I was driving it home, and all of a sudden, my steering, I noticed my steering wasn't really working very well. And I would turn my wheel, and my van wouldn't turn that well. So I'm thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do? And I didn't really have a lot of money at the time, or I didn't really have a lot of options to just park the van, have somebody, pick me up. So I decided, I had a dog in my car. It was my trusted companion. I decided I was going to finesse this thing home. And the route home was not an easy route. It was filled with hills and all kinds of stuff. Now, to make matters worse, I ran out of gas, right? So now I've got a car that won't steer, and it's run out of gas. So I don't take that for, it's like, screw this. I'm gonna do something different. I'm gonna push the envelope. I'm gonna get this van down this hill, and I'm gonna coast down this one hill, and I'm gonna get to a gas station. I'll get some gas, and I'll try and drive it home. So I get the van up to the top of this hill, and it gets stuck on a curb. And some guy's driving by. This is about 11:30 midnight, and he helps me pop the van off the curb. And the door of the van is open, and I'm pushing on the door, and all of a sudden it pops over the curb, and it just takes off.